Everybody's here.
We're in the house of the Lord.
That's it. I'm trying to close the talk about some things. I don't know if you. I don't know. Well, we'll see. I heard some stuff in class, and I'm enjoying that class so much. I heard some things in class, and I worked on some things, but I can't let go of some things. Can't let go. And I thought, well, I need to talk.
You didn't wait till next Sunday morning to talk about Sunday school?
You wanted really? Gotta get my Bible cleaned up, right?
No, you just need a cover that zips everything up in it.
No.
Like mine.
I'm gonna ask you guys, I'm gonna ask a question. Hey, this is a what?
A number.
Oh, but it's what? No.
Number 60.
Okay, and here's what?
100.
Okay. Now, as we see them, you say, Daryl, that here's 100 and here's 60. But here's what I heard in class this morning. It's been on my heart ever since. I heard some, as you said, I heard some folks talking. I said, let me see, some people don't speak into heaven. And I also heard it said, this too, we can't make a 100. And I get what was saying we can't be perfect. And in this life, we're not going to be right. And I heard her say, and I heard someone else about if we can squeak in. Here's where I'm going with that. I thought about some things that happened in my life. And some people in my life who have just strived for their. I'm going to use some examples and see what you guys think. I'm going to see what you guys think. Okay, as the class started, I had to have help because I didn't know anything about computers. I knew some things, but not. But it had been a very long time, so I got somebody with that. But here's what I stopped and think that she would be striving for this. How far would I go? Here's what she would have done. Well, here's the computer here, and I'm done. Why? Because that's a 60, right? I said I would help you, so here it is. I'm done. How far have I gotten?
Not very far.
Okay,
You wouldn't have blown the test out of the water like you did.
and I'm going to add to it. As I was there, that day, as I began a long week, and my head was off the wall, but I had worked all day and I was hungry. And guys say with me, if I'm hungry, it won't stick. I mean, it just won't stick. And I was hungry, and as I was out there, somebody fixed some food. But if she was striving for this, would she have fixed me some food? How far would I have gotten?
She'd have handed the thing to you and said, here you go.
Here's the bowl. Here you are, a bowl. How would that have made me feel? How would it have helped me? Now, here's where I'm headed next. I would head up there and I would work. And as I worked back there, I don't see very well. So I have to have all of those lights in there on. If someone had said, okay, Daryl, there's 3 strands of lights, but all you can use is 1. That's what would have happened at Hampton Drive or 60. Would that have helped me? It wouldn't have.
Squeaked by. Actually, that wasn't even
I like what she's saying, and I like where she's going. Now, I have a small grandson who likes to play outside, and once I head down there, when he sees me, he thinks outside. I have to haul him outside, and he plays outside. He stays outside. So I thought if we go outside, I need to get something to keep him preoccupied. Now, he has a triceps for sure, but he's growing, and he's out growing. I mean, he's growing like a weed. So I thought if I'm going to get this for him, it helps me, but it also helps him. It's going to keep him preoccupied. But had I been shooting for this, I'd have said I'm going to go to Walmart and I'm going to get a picture. I can say, here, I'm going to let you have this. I hope one day you get one. But that would have been shooting for a 60, right? That's a 60.
12. I think you would have gotten a big fat 0 on that one.
Okay.
And you might have got kicked in the chin.
Okay. Now, I like everything. I like every response. So here's where I'm going next. As I thought about some folks, and I'm glad that was said. And here's why I'm glad it was said. Because I hear that a lot. I hear folks saying, well, if I just get in, that's all that matters. I squeaked in, so I'm going to squeak in. But here's what I'm going to read some things. I'm going to read the first scripture I'm going to read. Through 7 and 16, and here's what it reads. Here's how it reads. It says, you will know them by their fruits. You will know by the fruit they bear. Now, hey, let's stop for a second. If somebody is shooting for this, if I've got seed, if I've got soil, if I've got rain and care and prayer, hey, a crop, right?
Maybe.
I like what he said. It says here, you will know my people by the fruit they bear. Now, here's where I'm going. He says, my people bear fruit. Here's what this is saying. If somebody is shooting for this, it's saying, I'm going to quit. I'm going to do only what I have to. I'm not going all the way. I'm going to go so far. I'm going to quit. I don't want to go all the way. But he says, you will know my people by the fruit that they bear. Now, I'm going somewhere with that as well. I seen somebody this week who was up at the store buying gas. And I saw her and I said, I'm going to go pump her gas. Here's why I went to pump her gas. I wanted to pump her. So I said, I'm going to go over and pump her gas. And while I pump her gas, I'll talk. Now, how would she have felt? And here's what she said. Mr. Godfrey, you don't have to pump my. They might get a gas for me. I can do it myself. And sure, you can do it yourself. But let me stop for a second. Had I walked up and said, I'm going to take off the cap and I'm going to stand back and pump your gas. And after you pump your gas, I'm going to put this back on and I'm going to walk right on. What would she have said?
What was the point?
Thank you. Thank you.
But if you wanted bonus points, you can pay for the gas.
But look, and I'm happy. She said what
You didn't use your credit card, did you?
I'm happy she said what she said. 100. Here's my point. After I put in her gas, her and I, we stood there and we talked. And I'm happy I did go pump her gas because I was having a long, hard day. And after I did that I felt so better. And here's what folks don't get. If you shoot for 100, you're going to be blessed for the things that you do. It's not going to be a one-sided deal. Here's why folks shoot for this. They think it's a one-sided deal. What they think, I'm going to make sure I get back more than what I give. Got news for you. You can't outgive God. You can't. But I'm going to say this. It also says, by the same stick in which you choose to judge somebody else in turn to. Sure. So now look, here's what I'm saying. If I'm not going to give much, then I shouldn't what? I shouldn't expect very much in return, right? I shouldn't. But I'm going back to folks who think I can squeak in. He says, you will know my people by the fruit that they bear. And let me stop just for a second. That bicycle I got from my little grandson. Why did I get that from him? Why did I get that?
So you have to see quit pulling. So he can really sell.
But Cheryl,
It's a
it,
gift. You wanna
and
see him grow and keep growing and building himself up and exercise.
fruit, bearing fruit. He's going to be happy to get the bike, his smile, and I can spend time with him with this bike. But he knows this. My papa bought this for me. He's going to look back as he grows and as he ages, because his sister is 3. And here's what she said a while back. I'll tell you. Here's what she said to me. Every time you come, you bring me something. Papa, I love you. You bring me something. Now, there are some folks who say this, well, it's sad that she says she loves you because you bring her things, but here's where I'm going with that. She's just 3, she's growing, but here's what I like. He loves me. And here's what I also like. We are being what? An example. If I keep doing what I'm doing as she ages, she's gonna put it all together. And if I'm there and if I explain things to her, then what's gonna happen? She's going to understand why I did what I did. She's going to understand why these things occurred. Now, here's where I'm going next. It also says in here, 7 and 16. Okay. It also says in Matthew, in 7 and 19, every tree that does not bear good fruit is to be cut down and thrown in the fire. Okay, if I'm shooting for this, am I going to bear some fruit? He's in a class now. He's set his mind. He's working hard. He's saying, I'm going to be I'm going to stay with this class until I get through. I'm going to be a paramedic. If he quits after, as he will, any fruit? The only thing he'll bear in that sense is what he regret.
Yeah, $8,000 bill.
They regret big time. Big time. Big time. If we quit, there's no reward. There won't be any fruit. Here's where I'm going. If we're shooting for this, and I'm going to add something to this. He knows our hearts. The Lord knows our thoughts, our hearts, our minds. He knows everything. If he knows I'm shooting for this, and he hung on the cross for my sin, all that he did for me, but if he knows that's all I'm shooting for. If Cheryl would have had me out there, and she didn't have to feed me, but she did. I'm so grateful that she helped me honestly through the things that everybody did. But had they have been shooting for this, here's why this is scary. When I took that final exam, had I been shooting for this, how would I pass? There was no way of me knowing where that was. It's the same way in our lives that we do. If we're shooting for this, how do you know how to hit this? It's a gift. Here's where I'm going next. If I've not helped her, if I've been mean, if I've not done anything for her, and if I've lived for myself all my life, and if there were some things I did for her, and I didn't help her or anybody else, and once it come a time in my life where I'm going to need her, is she going to be out to her? Why would she help me? Even though her help to me is a free gift, why would she be out to me? Why? I don't deserve it, and here's where I'm going. We don't deserve help. We don't deserve the Lord's love. But here's what I'm saying. I'm going back to what Cheryl said. And I'm going back to what I'm fixing to say. You can be perfect. Here's why you won't be perfect. We're not going to be perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody's going to be perfect. But let me say this. When I left out there that night, Cheryl made 110. I wasn't hungry. I was full. I got the homework done, and she helped me. bearing fruit. Bearing fruit. Now here's what happens to a whole lot of us. We're not going to be perfect, but he didn't ask us. Because he is, right? He knows that we don't have to be perfect. But here's what he's saying. You do the best that you can, and I'm going to do what's left. I'm going to have to. But here's what the Lord, here's what he does. Here's what he wants from us. He wants us to do our very best. Now, why is that so important? Now, as I walked out there and I pumped gas, I worked all day and I know I smelled terrible. And I looked awful, as I always do. I'm outside. What she could have said was, heaven forbid, get away from me. I looked rough. I worked hard. But that's not what she said. She stood there and we talked. And I enjoyed her. And after it was said and done, me, I'm going to hug you now. And I hugged her. And she hugged me. But here's where I'm going. After I pumped her gas, it helped me make my day. Bearing fruit. Why? How do we bear fruit? By showing folks what? By showing people the love. By showing people the love. And that's what the Lord, that's what he has asked of us. If you love me, you will feed my sheep. Here's what he's saying. Just tell somebody about me. Just try to do some things that I've done for you. Now, here's what he means by try to do some things. I'm not saying earn it. Just try to go show people my love. Tell somebody about me. Show folks what I've done for you. And show them what I can do in turn for them. And here's where I'm going next. In Galatians 6 and 9, here's what it says. Here's what it says in Galatians 6 and 9. It says, and let us not grow weary while doing good, for in those season we shall reap a harvest. That's in time, right? It's a process. We should not grow weary in doing the things that we do, because if we do it, it's going to reap a harvest. There again, we're bearing fruit. Now, I'm going to get my notes if I can find it, because everything's right. Let me find it. Here's my point, guys. If you're shooting for this, then you might as well even do it. Here's why I say that. Here's why I say that. Because those things I brought up with you guys, it's a joke. If Cheryl not did what she did, had he have not did what. Here's why what they did made such a huge impact. They went above and beyond. I'm going to say that again, above and beyond. When you go above and beyond, that is one of the greatest impact. Now, here's where I'm going. Now, let's stop for a second, make sure I'm explaining what I'm saying. I'm not saying walk up and you have to give somebody $1,000. If somebody's hungry, just make sure they're fed. If I'm hungry, and if I leave hungry, then have you helped me? I'm going to pray for you, Daryl, but if I left hungry, and if you had food right there on the stove, how is that going to make me feel? How is that going to make me feel?
You feel pretty good then.
Well, not if you don't offer it.
Oh.
You cook somebody food but not offer it.
Here's my point, guys. How can you squeak in when you don't know what he is? Well, no, I'm not saying like that. How can you squeak in? Well, now I'm going to say it. I'll say it like this. If he heads home and he decides, this is my wife, I'm going to only do enough to squeak by. I heard her say just this past week, the secret to a happy marriage is a happy wife. If he does just enough to squeak in, is she going to be a happy woman?
No.
And in turn, is he going to be a happy man?
No.
He's not. Why? Because she's going to see what? He says he loves me, but he's not showing me. Now, guys, the Lord is a jealous God. But let me stop here and say this. Why is this so important? Why is this so important? Why am I taking the time to be honest? What we're doing is important. Why? Because we're trying to help the Lord save people. We are making people aware of him. We're showing people the love of Christ. He is our example. He knows that we fall short. He knows that we're not going to be like him. But he is saying this, I want you to try. I want you to try. I want you to do the best that you can. And here's what's important. I made you. I know what's there. I know what you can do. I designed you to do certain things. And if you love me in turn, you will do these things. What you'll do, why? Not because you're trying to earn your salvation. What you'll do, why? Because it's for the same reason I did what I did for you. I hung on the cross because God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes with him shall not perish but have eternal life. It was through what? It was through love. And he expects us to interact with each other and show people the love of Christ. But how can we do it if we're shooting for this? How can we do it if we're shooting for that? Well, and if I shoot for this, am I showing folks love at all? Who do I love? Who do I love if I'm shooting for this? I love me, right? I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to do enough to get me into heaven, and that's it. I don't care about anybody else but me. He hung on the cross for who? For everybody except who? Himself. He was in heaven. He left heaven for who? For us. The same stick in which you use to judge somebody else is what's going to be used to judge you as we stand before him. Shooting for 60. It says in the Bible that before the end of time there will be a great falling away from the church. And I hear folks use that often and frequently. But today, here's what hit me. Who's the church? We are. A great falling away from us, and it's us who are to lead folks to Christ. Why? Because we're shooting for 60. If we shoot for this, that's what's going to happen. But I'm going to say this, and here's what you guys do not know. Before I took that class, I had got in a rut. I got to a spot where I needed to see some things happen. It's been a long time. There were some things that was heavily upon my heart, which you guys may don't know. Throughout that class, a whole lot of things happened that I was blessed. I got to see some things I needed to see. I needed to see some things. And the Lord showed me these things through your actions. Through your actions. That's why this is so important. But let me say this. If you'd have been shooting for this, I'd still be in that room. But now I'm not. I mean, yeah. Here's what you did. Here is exactly what you did. But had you have not, I'd still be in the rut. I'd be in the rut. Now here's where I'm going with that. If I'm in the church, and sometimes even we get in the rut, how about the world? If all we're showing them is this, then how will they see the love of Christ? They won't. They won't. They won't. And I got news for you. All they have is us and the Lord, right? We are his hands and feet, his arms, his mouthpiece. Talk to him. We're here for him. But if we're only shooting for a 60, now here's where I'm going with that. A 60 is not passing. A 60 won't help anybody. We need our very best. Now, what is our very best? Simply what? Showing them what? Hey, the love of Christ. Now, here's where I want to go. There are going to be some folks say often, well, I don't have a whole lot of money. My grandmother could cook like an angel. And let me tell you something, guys. I was a little thick guy for a long time, and I was proud of it. I wish I was still thick, because she cooked so well. And I'd sit there and I would wait until she got through, and I'd eat up the house. And I can still eat. Here's my point. Everybody has a gift. You use that gift for God's kingdom to impact somebody else's life. That's what he's asking. You use what you have to impact folks' lives. And after you have did that, you're going to be blessed for it. And he's going to bless you in return. You don't have to worry. You don't have to worry. Here's what's happening. Here's what's happening with folks, and I see this. If I help somebody, then I'm not going to be able to survive. He will not ask you to give more than you have to give, and everything you give, he's going to return. How do I know that? It happens with me. It happens all the time. There are things that have happened just this past week. I can do this and this, I do that and this, I do this. Hey, that's why I've not gotten my shit done. I've done this and there's things, and I'm happy it's not complete because good things have happened. Good things have happened. If we'll shoot for this. Here's our faith. When we sincerely have faith in the Lord, here's what we do, and he's going to earn it. Guys, 3, 4, 5, 4, 10-fold. But let me say this. If we shoot with this, you're not going to bear fruit. You're not going to impact anybody. Now, why have I said all of this? Why have I said all of this? And I hope, as I made those examples, I'm glad to see you guys laugh, because it is. If somebody thinks you can fool the Lord, you think you can pull the skin over his eyes? Come on, guys. He made us. He made us. I'm not that smart, and you as well. You're not that smart, guys. But here's my point. Why should you shoot for this when you can give this and he's going to give it back? 3-fold, 5-fold, 6-fold, 7-fold. And I'm going to say this. I heard her say back there's rewards. Now, everything I have read in here about heaven's a wonderful place. Heaven's a wonderful place. Now, I don't want to get there and not get all the rewards that I've got coming. I think about this as I think about heaven, and I don't know why this sticks in my mind. As a kid in the lower grades, regarding if you did well, what they gave you a star. And if you did fair, they gave you what? A smiley face. But here's what's heavily upon my heart. I always wanted a star. But here's what I'm saying. If all we have here is a star and a smiley face, let's stop and think about those things that are heaven. And I'm going to close with this. Am I doing it for those rewards? No and yes. Here's what I mean by no and yes. The things I do here, I'm blessed for them. So it's reinforcing me to do these things. It's building my faith. It's reinforcing my faith in the Lord. It's showing me, Daryl, the same way he's fixed it. So you're there for somebody else. He used you in this situation. When you get in need, he's also going to use somebody else for you. So I've been blessed for it. And I'm going to get this out there, and I'm going to say this because a whole lot of folks won't. I want some things, guys. He said it. I do. I want some things. I want to be happy. I want to be taken care of. I want to have a heaven I'm going to. But I'm like everybody else. I want to enjoy life. But how do we do it? And by shooting 400. Why do I say that? If we take care of him, and you know what I mean by take care of him, if we will do our very best for him, he's going to bless us, if for no other reason for this. If you're doing his will, then what's going to happen? He wants you to do his will. He's got things he wants to get done through us. If we're doing that, then what is he going to do? He's going to help us. He's going to help us, right? And in that, you will find self-fulfillment. How do I know you'll find self-fulfillment? That's why I'm able to stand here and talk to you. It used to be scary. I didn't want to do this. This wasn't a choice. It used to scare me. My stomach would be like this. Get up here and I can talk now, I can laugh, I can enjoy it. Self-fulfillment. If you're doing what he wants you to do, you're going to be blessed for it. Why? Because I'm no longer shooting 460. I understand this. I can't give more than what he has to give to me in return. I'm going to close with this. As we go about our way, understand this. And I'm not going to sit here and say that there aren't some folks who won't get in by making a 60. But here's what I'm going to say this. Some folks were given small gifts. There's some folks that were given huge gifts. The more that you have received, the more in turn he expects from you. Here's my point. There are folks here you've been blessed. In return, bless other folks. As you bless other people, you in turn will be blessed for it. I hope that makes sense. And I'm going to close in prayer, but let me say this. Don't shoot for 60. Hey, that shed that I'm working on now, that's a part of why it's taking so long. I can hurry up and get done, but if I hurry up, it's not going to do everything it's supposed to do. And if I hurry through it, it's going to be of no use to me. Here's my point. If I live this life, and when this life is over, if I don't get to heaven, then what has this life been? In vain, right? It's been of no use. If I shoot for a 60 and fail and wind up in hell, it's all in vain.
No do-overs.
There's no do-over. Hey, this class, that's why I stayed so late. I wanted to do the best that I could. Why? I wanted to make sure. Here's something here, guys. We need to be as for sure as we can be. But we need to do all that we can. Why? Because we want to be sure. It's just like what Cheryl said. No do-overs. And the same way there are no do-overs for us, there's no do-overs for them. You might be their last chance at accepting Christ. The things you do, how you handle folks, might be their last opportunity. And I've heard this said. I've heard this said, if you don't do it, then someone else will. God knows for me. I grew up right down there. And I've seen a whole lot of kids, if they'd have been in the home I was in, their lives would have been like mine. And if I'd have been in the home I saw them in, then my life would have been like theirs. So who changed my life? The Lord gave me my grandmother that made all the difference in the world. You are important. The things you do are of the utmost importance. So do not leave here believing or shooting for 60. Why? Because a 60 might be that much good. But at the end of it, I heard her say this as she talked about my little grandson. One day when I'm long gone, I want him to say, my papa did everything he could to help me. And I don't just want him to say that. I want folks to say, if he could help me, he would. He did all he could. Why is that so important? Y'all, I was a kid who had to have a whole lot of help when I was small. I was the one, hey, my mom had 8 kids, and I was the one that probably wasn't expected. Very much in what? The word's home. But my grandmother decided I'm going to take him. I'm going to work on him overtime. I'm going to spank him until he gets it. I'm going to feed him until he does it. I'm going to take really good care of him, and he's going to get there. Why is he going to get there? Because I'm going to make sure he gets there. Why? Because she shot for him. And she would not let me believe that was the best I could do. But I wind up like this because somebody put 100% in me. And the Lord put 100% in her to put 100% in me. And he's put 100% in you to put 100% into somebody else. That's why we need to shoot for 100 and not 60. Because, hey, that's why so many folks are falling by the wayside because of 60%. Why? Because here's what folks are saying. They're in it for themselves. I'm not seeing Christ. They're saying if that's what the love of Christ is about, I don't know. And I'm going to close with this. He hung on the cross, right? He's all. He died for us. But there isn't anything else he can do. When you've died for somebody, you've what? You've given your all, right? He's what? Our example. So I'm going on and on and on. It's just amazing how I'm just talking my shit up in the kid who wouldn't want to say anything. I can't shut up. The power of the Lord. That's what we are to show people the same way. And I hear folks say, well, you got a wonderful gift. You as well have one if you'll share it. Everybody has one. You'll just stop and share. That's all he's asked us to do. Stop and share and show what? The daily love of Christ. I'm going to close in prayer, and I enjoy you guys so much. And I'm going to say this. Thank you guys for being you. It matters. It matters. Why do I say it matters? It's these things that change people's lives. It's these things that impact the lives of others. Here's what's wrong with the world. I hear it said often and frequently. Nobody cares. Yeah, there's somebody who cares. But how do they know that there's someone who cares? If we're his hands, his feet, and his mouthpiece, how do they know? Uh-oh. It's through us, right? And how do we show it? 100%. That won't do it. He hung on the cross and he died. 100%. I'm going to close in prayer because I'm about to get wind up and if it will be here. But let me say this. Let's have a good week. And let's show the world 100%. Why do I want to show them 100%? Well, I'm going to say this. When it's my time, the Lord's going to show me 100%. I want to see everything that's up there. I want to enjoy everything that's up there. I heard Cheryl say some stuff back there, and I laughed at what Cheryl said. We don't know exactly what heaven is going to be like. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. There's two choices, and it's up to you. And there's a heaven, and there's a hell. I'm going to heaven, guys, and I don't care what it takes. Why am I going to get to heaven now? Because I can. Because I've accepted it, and I'm going to what? I'm going to show people the love of the Lord. That's all it takes. It's that simple. It's a process. It takes time. And it's a sacrifice. It's a price. The price is the things that we forgive, that we live for Him. But it's short term. It's short term. I heard somebody say we have no idea how long eternity is going to be. If you're in heaven, you won't know. But I guarantee you, if you're in hell, it's gonna make a lot more sense. But I'm not going to be there. Why? Because I'm going to always stop and share and show people the love of God. Lord, as we go our way, I pray, Lord, each will stop and share. And always, Lord, take time to help you love. Help you love. Hey, lead the world to. Hey, to you and in your name. I pray. Amen. Happy to